Welcome to Momentum Investing, property investing made easy. One of the world's top podcasts on property investing, bringing you the top experts in the field so you can learn firsthand what it takes to create passive income and take control over your financial future.
What is the future of UK property? Well, in today's episode of the Momentum Investing podcast, we talk about new HMO regulations, how letting agents have to adapt in order to handle the incoming pressures on quality of living, and of course, how to succeed as an HMO investor. Welcome to the Momentum Investing podcast. My name is Daniel Wood. I'm one of the founders of Momentum Property Education. Please make sure you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any updates when we interview top experts like today, where we've interviewed Matt Baker of the HMO platform, where he shares their insights into how they are disrupting and changing the HMO industry. So make sure you listen to this entire episode. It is exciting. And please make sure you are subscribed because you don't want to miss how we update you on what's going on in the property market, property strategies, passive income mastery, and these amazing interviews. If you like this video as well, I really appreciate it because we got a partnership with Eden Reforestation Project that for each like on any of our YouTube videos, we will go out and plant a tree. So thank you so much for everyone who does like our videos. And if you've liked the video before, well, pat yourself on the back. You've planted at least one tree like this one, and you will have contributed to planting a tree as well today. So thank you so much for watching. Let's check what Matt has to say about how we can succeed as HMO property investors and what is happening in the lettings industry. Welcome to the Momentum Investing podcast. I am here with Matt Baker of the HMO platform. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me, Daniel. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm super excited to get into the details here because obviously most of the people here, myself, we do HMOs, we have HMOs, or we're buying HMOs. And it's a great strategy. It gives us a lot of good cash flow. But you've come in and kind of taken a different tact on it, and you call it being a next level landlord. I'd love to start by kind of just for an introduction, like who are you and what does it mean to be a next level landlord?
Hi, well, my name's Matt Baker, as you just said. I wear three hats generally. I'm a property developer myself. First and foremost, we develop HMOs and co-living spaces, and I'll talk about it a bit later, but we aim to be in the top 5% of all properties that are out there as a choice for housemates to live in. So that's what we do as a developer. Hat number two is as the HMO platform, where we work with other landlords and developers to help them grow their portfolios. We're very successful at doing that. And hat number three is as a HMO or co-living HMO management agency, where we manage specifically co-living style HMOs across the UK. So I'm pretty busy.
Well, that's just three companies. That's nothing. You're fine.
Yeah, well, that's three of the ones I just talked about. But
Yeah, no. So what does it mean when you say next level landlord? And because that's something you work on, and being that top 5%. What is it that, like, for example, for me, I have a few HMOs, and I know a lot of our listeners have HMOs. So what does it mean? How would a top 5% differentiate from just your average, top 50% HMO?
Well, the way that I distinguish it is that you've got this, like the old school way of doing HMOs, you end up with something that's pretty much a beige box. You've got lots of old school landlords who've been just rinse and repeating what they call a cookie cutter. So they just do the same thing every single time. And I know there are people that train that and still train that.
Oh yeah, I remember that was my first mentor about 10 years ago. That's what he said. You find your cookie cutter and then you do that 300 times and then you're a wealthy landlord.
Correct. But you're also not future-proofing your portfolio, especially when it comes to HMOs. So our take on it is that actually the goal is to be in the top 5% of your marketplace, but the top 5% of design. So you create a design-led HMO, which basically attracts your ideal tenants, your high-value tenants. The top 5% of space. So we don't do pokey. I think if you do pokey, you're going to, again, not have a lot of longevity in the marketplace because there will be other people coming in, disrupting, creating a better product than you.
Right.
And if you've got a small amount of space, you've got nowhere to go. So we like to buy properties that have space. We're talking probably 6 beds plus, because it gives us options in the future.
Right. And so you're not buying a property that like just barely can get to 6 beds either, and there where you squeeze them in and you have these tiny rooms. You're looking at a nice big property with nice proper room sizes.
Yeah, definitely. We like to go double room size, single occupancy. As a general rule. Obviously, there are exceptions to that, but what that does, it means that there's enough space for storage. And the one thing about HMO tenants is they come with stuff, and they like to put somewhere to put their stuff. And if you buy a house where you can cram in, like 5-6 years ago, you might have crammed in 6 bedrooms, and they all might have been between 6.5 and 8 square meters, and no en suites. You've got 1 bathroom and a shared toilet, something like that. That's not going to stand the test of time. Whereas if you took that same property and went, actually, I've got space to make 5 epic rooms, I could put an ensuite in all of them. Actually, when you do the maths, you're better off with the 5 beds than you are with the pokey 6 beds, because of the voids and everything. You've got fewer people to work with, to manage, and they're more attractive, so they're going to fill more easily. So I think it's a false economy to try and cram as many in. And we do talk about.
I agree. We have a property like that in Liverpool. 5 gorgeous big rooms. We actually haven't put in en suites yet. That is a part of the future plan. But even without the en suites, that just means that's even more storage space in that room. I mean, they're bigger than double beds. You know, they're big rooms, and so they fill up. It's easy to get them filled.
Yeah, and I think that's where you want to be. So with the top 5%, we talked about design, talked about space, and the third thing is the top 5% of service. And this is the bit which a lot of people forget about. They defer that to
exactly, because most of us, especially us internationals, as most of us here are, it's, you know, we're over here. I mean, I'm 1,000 miles away from my properties, and I'm still one of the closest people listening on this call. So that really is something we just put that away. And most of us just completely trust our letting agent, right? And we hope that they're going to deliver a decent service. But you guys have a slightly different take on that.
Yeah, because well, I don't know, because you guys probably got some good partnerships with some of the agents you work with, because you have to vet them, you have to be able to trust them. And I think maybe people that are based in the UK maybe don't vet their agents as well as maybe they should, because either they're a bit closer, they can go in, they can sort these things out, and maybe it feels like their properties are closer.
Well, it's also one thing like that, when you've met someone and you start trusting them automatically. We being 1,000 miles away, we don't have a choice but to vet, because we know that I'm not going to be able to go by and drive by and see if there's garbage in the front of the property. I need to know that this person is awesome. But that was a mistake I did early on. I trusted too many people, and well, it went as it went at the beginning.
And you know what? I think that's the same with most landlords. Yeah, when you start out investing, you kind of think, okay, the first letting agent or the second letting agent I'm going to meet, they're going to solve more of my problems, and they talk a good talk, and then it's not until you actually start being a landlord that you realize what the issues are going to be, and dealing with like rats and mice and rubbish and people's conversations in between individual housemates, people smoking, and all these things that are kind of just general, people being people, and people not looking after properties, and some people looking after properties, and it becomes something which you learn over time and you get better at it. So vetting an agent, I think, is very, very important. But for us, for service, it's more than just managing the property and making sure it doesn't break. It's about being proactive on 2 fronts: proactive on the property itself. So we do proactive maintenance. I think this is something that we talked about previously.
Yeah, I love that, because that's something, and I want to say this as a Swede because it's so interesting, is in Sweden, most properties are co-op owned. So the actual building, so they'll have a co-op board, and Gisela sat on that co-op board. And one of the things in our old, 5 homes ago, but she sat on that co-op board, and one of the things that was offered was she could go to courses and learn about like the long-term maintenance schedules, like how often do you change a roof, how often do you change the facade, how often do you need to do this and that. And then we started investing in the UK as, as professional investors. And we started asking our letting agents this about, well, so what is the maintenance schedule? Like when is things happening? And when we finally got them to understand we were asking, it was, well, when the rain starts falling through the roof, we change the roof, right? It's like there was no proactiveness at all. It's like when the boiler has exploded, then we change it. There's like, okay. So it's like when the problem is huge, then we fix it and it costs 10 times as much. So I love that. That's one of the big reasons why we love having you on this call, because proactive maintenance is something that needs to be done in the UK.
Oh, 100%, because it rains a lot and and roofs do fail, and boilers do break, and especially in HMOs, things get a lot of wear and tear.
Yeah.
So one thing that we love to do is just, I've got a block of flats, handyman goes in once a month, he's given a set amount of time and a set amount of budget, and he goes around and makes sure that everything is working. He touches up paintwork. That is a service accommodation block, so slightly different. He's going and making sure that handles are working, the locks are not jamming, and the washing machine.
Just that it's a comfortable experience for anyone coming there, that everything looks nice and works as it's supposed to.
Of course, and then with the HMOs, you probably have that similar thing once a quarter, where you go and you do that proactively. You're just looking and fixing things whilst you're there, but then also having that schedule of, well, whilst you're there, this quarter, you're going to do this, and this, and we're going to service the boiler every year. We're going to make sure that everything is kept clean and tidy. And obviously we have cleaners once a week, maintenance guy probably once every 2 to 3 months. And that schedule means that we can proactively predict the costs as well. So if you fix things before they break, as you say, it costs a lot less. But I think a lot of UK landlords are maybe a little bit tight. They get used to having the money coming in, and they don't like to spend it and invest it in the properties, which is where we are. Well, we like to think we're different, but also where we're showing people and coaching people, this is the best way to do it. And then with our management agency, we're making them do it, because actually this is, you have to do
that's a part of the agreement. Well, and I think for most of us here, this is so obvious, right? This is like, obviously you would run it that's like your car, right? You don't wait to service your car until the engine falls out, right? It's you service it every year, because that is what you do with a car. And it should be the same with a house. And I think most internationals, that's how we think. And then we come to the UK and we're kind of shocked that that's not how it's done. But we still put away money for the maintenance every month. So we might as well do it proactively and save some money. So I love that you're doing that. And I hope that catches on and that more people start thinking in those terms.
Yeah, me too. I think it'd be better for tenants in general, better for landlord's mental health as well, and tenants' mental health, because it's
exactly. I mean, if I'm a landlord and I've been bunkering cash flow without a thought to maintenance, and then I have a bunch of money and I go and buy a property, as most landlords do. We very rarely want to have money in our accounts. We want to be buying stuff. Well, if that comes at the wrong time, that I go and buy a property, and right after you call me saying I have to fix my roof, well, that's a big expense that I just, the 5, 10K, 15K that's going to cost me, I just went out and spent.
Well, I'll tell you, fixing the roof at the moment is quite a bit more.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, that's
we just had a quote to replace a roof. So we've got a bit of leak coming in after a storm up in the northeast, and we had one guy go and say, well, this roof's been patchworked for far too long, it needs to be replaced. That's going to be £26,000, please. I was like, okay, sent another one round. He says, okay, so we can go and we can basically fix what's there, repoint it, replace a few tiles, and we put scaffolding up, and we can do a really good job. Leave about £4,000. And another guy comes to us and says, well, for 800 quid, I'll just repoint your chimney, and that'll sort of your problem. So it's very bizarre when you've got contractors telling you it's an 800 quid fix or it's a £26,000 fix.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
And it's one of those things though, that where, if you have that proper 20-year maintenance schedule, you'll be doing the $800 fixes until it's time to do the $26,000 change, and you will have saved cash flow and you'll have a schedule for it. So it's
correct. And also we won't be doing it when the roof costs £26,000 to fix, because that's very much of the moment price, I would say.
Exactly. You'll be able to book that 6 months, 12 months in advance because next year we're changing the roof. So yeah.
Yeah. So that covers the proactivity of the maintenance in terms of how we look after properties. But the most important thing when it comes to being the top 5% of service is how we look after the people. And most letting agents will view their tenant as an asset up until the point they move into the property. At that point, they see it as a liability because they only ever hear from them when there's a problem, when they're late paying the rent. And yeah, essentially they're then an issue to deal with.
They're passive income until it's a problem.
Yes. So that's where, again, we think being top 5% can be different. So having a proactive way of kind of dealing with people who live in shared housing, because we're a big proponent of co-living, and co-living is basically community living and creating spaces where people love to live, where they can get on with their housemates, and actually they can form communities within the property. So for us, it's about building meaningful relationships between the people that choose to move into one of our properties, and we could do that through a number of ways. And actually, something I talk about in my book, Next Level Landlord, the 8 ways of creating a co-living environment, and I call it the co-living approach. And essentially, there's loads of things you can do, but essentially, if we can form meaningful relationships through proactive communication, through putting on like events, and I'm not saying that we have to go and put on an event once a month for our housemates. It's about putting on we generally have what's called a community manager or community facilitator, someone who goes in and talks to them, gets to know the people living in there, helps them to put on events. And the gold standard of co-living is that they run their own events, which is perfect.
Where they'll have a Friday night game night in the house.
Something like that, or they're watching the football together, or we might even send in a chef every now and again and do something like that.
Yeah.
So where you kind of bring them together, do something which they're excited to want to join in with.
Well, if you want to send me a chef, I'll try it out. I'll see how that is.
It doesn't have to be that costly either. And so we would put aside a budget for community facilitation as part of our management. So that we know that if our tenants stay a long period of time, then there's less voids.
So that's because on HMOs, we always put in a 5% void cost when we do our calculation, and we put that away. So essentially what you would be doing is taking maybe half of that budget and saying, well, let's put that into investing in our tenants so that, we don't have 5% voids, we get 1 to 2% voids, and then I keep that extra little profit. I have better tenants, happier tenants, and they take better care of my property.
Correct. And they stay longer. So the average co-living tenancy is about 18 months. So I don't know what the turnover is of HMOs that you guys have or any of your listeners have, but the average turnover is probably somewhere between 6 to 9 months.
Yeah, exactly.
So what the aim is to drag that out, because that 5% is 5% per.
If I have a 10-bed HMO, and that means that's 520 weeks in a year, that would mean 26 weeks are empty. So that means every other week one of my rooms is empty on average, using 5%. Now, I should say we don't have 5%. We put away 5% because we want to keep some margin. We're usually at around 2 to 3% voids. And we keep some margin. But if we get that down, if the average tenant is staying 18 months, and of course, the other part is how quickly do you get someone to move in? If you have a place like that where you're having chefs come in, you're having game nights, and you might even having a waiting list for people going, I want to stay in this place. I'm willing to pay extra for staying in this place. And there's all these knockoff effects.
Correct. So our aim, because we only started managing this year under our brand Cohome, and Cohome's aim is to be kind of an agent of choice, or not even an agent, kind of an operator of choice. So somewhere where the housemates, they know of us, it has brand awareness in the marketplace, and you're right, where we can build more of an awareness of people wanting to move in, And there's other things that you can do to facilitate that. So one thing that we will be doing is putting on co-home events, whereby that would be maybe we book out a space, we invite all of our housemates in that area. So maybe we're managing 50 rooms in a particular town or part of town. We invite them all to a space, but also we open it up to their friends and other people, and we make it an event. And therefore you've got maybe 70, 80 people coming together in an event, which we've put on, and it's all facilitated.
And you look forward then to live in one of your homes to hear from people living there, like, wow, this is how often this is what they do. My landlord doesn't do that for me.
Yeah, so you could do that once every 6 months, or even once a year, and that could be your advertising budget spent just in that one event, and you've got enough people wanting to move in. You
don't need to do the Zoopla ads, the Right Move ads, the spare rooms, the gum trees, and all the other places where you can post an ad and pay for it.
Correct.
Very, very cool. Very cool. So if we want to learn more about this, if we want to kind of get into doing this, I mean, I know some of the landlords here on the call are, you got properties in your home country. If I want to implement this myself, where do I learn more from you? How do I get in touch with you?
Okay, so the first thing I suggest you do is go grab a copy of the book, Next Level Landlord, available on Amazon.
We'll link to that in the show notes.
So in there, I talk about the kind of the development of HMOs, because we're developers first. So we go out there, how we find them, fund them, etc. Also, we're growing our YouTube channel at the moment, so putting lots of content out there. So if you want to ask a specific question, you want to have me answer it, then feel free to kind of get in touch with me. And the best way to do that is probably through our Facebook group, which is called Let's Talk HMOs. So you can join our Facebook group, Let's Talk HMOs, and I do some exclusive kind of content in there about HMOs in general, but also about the next level HMO strategy, which I think is the one which is going to future-proof you moving forward.
Very cool. Well, so we'll link to all of that down below. That's awesome. So we find you on what was the channel name for your YouTube channel?
The HMO Platform.
The HMO Platform YouTube. Next Level Landlord, the book, and Let's Talk HMOs on Facebook as the Facebook group. Awesome. Well, Matt, thank you so much for having you join us today. It has been awesome.
Thank you for having me.
And everyone, thank you for listening. I got some exciting news, so stay tuned, and I'll speak to you in a moment. That was pretty awesome, wasn't it? Well, Matt has a lot of exciting things to share, and I'm sure we're going to have him back on the show. If you'd like, please comment below and let me know if you'd like to learn more from Matt in the future. Next week, we got a super exciting episode because I had Neil Lawton on the show. They have developed a new way to build floating homes using a special concrete base that doesn't sink, which is really, really cool. It can last for over 100 years, just like a property on land. So it would be super, super exciting to have you join us next week. Make sure you subscribe to the Momentum Investing channel, the Momentum Property Education YouTube channel, so you don't miss a single video that comes out. Thank you so much for watching today. And if you liked the video, well, thank you so much for contributing for a better world. You planted a tree today. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon.